So I'm glad to be with you today. My part of the Paschal mystery is the grieving and adjusting, wandering in the wilderness. And I'll be quoting a lot from Alan Wolfeld. He's an educator and grief counselor, and he's written over more than 50 best-selling books on grief. And so the grief process is like wandering in the wilderness. It can be an arduous journey. It can be a different experience for everyone. I'm aware that this is a very sensitive topic for some of you because you've lost a loved one, either through death or divorce. How do we ever find our way out of the wilderness of grief, which may be filled with sadness, shock, numbness, explosive feelings, inability to focus or concentrate, helplessness, questions, guilt, feeling drained, frustrated? The good news is that we don't have to dwell there forever. If we honor the trail markers of the grief process, we will find our way through. Loving someone changes us forever. Likewise, loss changes us forever. Love and grief are two sides of a coin, and often pain is the consequence of love. Wolfeld describes grief as a universal and instinctive reaction to being separated from a person, a relationship, or any kind of loss. Grieving is the feeling of being torn apart, of being robbed of part of our life, and of being changed forever. I lost my brother Steve in 1982 in a motorcycle accident in Minnesota. He was 33. I was grieving alone in Chicago, where no one knew him or experienced the loss. This is what I wrote. What is grief? I felt pushed and pulled and torn between myself and someone I've never seen. A monster comes and goes. How do I explain such a thing? Sometimes I'm fine, carrying on as usual, and sometimes I just sit as tears roll down. I'm not sure why. My brother died. I accept the fact. I'm not angry at God. I don't think I am. But I'm angry at everything and everyone that comes near me. I just want to be alone, to cry because it hurts, away from everything because I feel like such a mess. I need to talk, but when I do, the tears start falling. The people move on to other topics. Sorry that I'm upset. I'm angry and crabby and obnoxious, hard to live with myself. I need someone who can understand my pain, let me talk and cry. I need someone to know how much I loved him, miss him. I want someone to know how special he was and that a whole part of my life is gone. So that was my description of grief. Alan lists like 6 parts to the grief process: to recognize, react, recollect, reconcile, readjust, and invest. So he says to recognize the loss, acknowledge the reality of the death or loss. This will mean that someone you care about will never physically come back into your life. Each time you talk about the loss, it will become more real through the replay of events and memories. And the second part, react to the separation, embrace the pain of loss. In our culture, it's easier to avoid, repress, or deny the pain of loss. In fact, others may encourage you to move on, but it's in confronting the pain that you can be reconciled with the new reality. Recollect and re-experience the person and the relationship. It's important to remember the person who died or the loss you experienced. Through the gift of memories, we can still have a relationship. Also, objects can link you to the person, such as pictures, souvenir, a necklace, a watch. This remembering can create room for hope in the future. In short, you continue the relationship in a new way. Harold Ivan Smith lists 21 ways of cherishing our memories, to tell stories, to scrapbook, to do rituals, to write a poem or song, to journal, to plant a tree in their memory, to celebrate birthdays, to make their favorite recipe, to display a photo of them, donate a book or a video to a library in their name, play their favorite song, go to their favorite restaurant. This is one I thought was interesting. Tackle a neglected task or project and privately dedicate its completion to the memory of your loved one. So the fourth one is relinquish one way of connecting the physical presence to a new way of maintaining the relation via precious memories. This is reconciliation rather than closure. Part of your identity is changed, going from wife to widow. And you may define yourself in new ways and take on new roles previously filled by the loved one. Loss does not disappear, but softens as you reconcile who you have become through time and friendships. And the fifth point is readjust to the new world. Through struggle and questions for meaning and purpose, you begin to find the part of you that has been changed by loss. You lose a sense of self, of security, of being anchored. But in that darkness, in the mystery of suffering, you come to a new depth of meaning. Transformation can happen in this liminal space where we wouldn't normally choose to go. Even Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus, John 11:36. He knew the loss of a friend. And I love the book of Job. He lost everything. He goes through his dark night of the soul, and then God intervenes in chapters 38 to 42, and Job responds, I had heard of thee by hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see thee. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. There is a mystery in suffering that can bring wisdom and transformation. This wonderful article for Paula Darcy, who is a retreat leader, and she was transformed by the deep grief of losing her husband and her daughter to a drunk driver. So this is what she writes. My call to this work came slowly because it didn't come out of the light. It came out of an experience of darkness. During that period of time, I had an overwhelming sense that everything I ever believed was too small. Not necessarily wrong, but needing to grow or expand. One of the things I confronted was my idea that the proof of a loving God was when things in your life were favorable. But in the face of my loss and all that had happened, something in me could not deny that God was nevertheless loving and with me. A considerable shift in my awareness was beginning to take place. I also had a growing sense that the darkness I felt was not darkness without hope. The dark was luminous. It wasn't something I could name at the time. I simply felt it to be from a realm greater than my human experience, and it wanted to help me if I would turn toward it. I guess I would call it a force of love. And when I encountered it, my aliveness was heightened right in the midst of my grief. All the things I used to worry about and focus on no longer mattered. As I focused on this love, my perspective grew. I understood for the first time that I wasn't controlling anything. Life was happening on its own, and my eyes began to open to the whole world and all its suffering. I was hardly the first person to lose a husband or a child, but in my former comfortable life, before it happened to me, I hadn't given this a lot of thought. But now that suffering was a lived experience. I realized there was so much I needed to change about how I understood life. I had to move beyond my own conclusions. The way I prayed during this time changed. Prior to my loss, my prayer had been petitions for things I hoped to have or intercessions for others. Now, my one prayer was, show me, or teach me how to see. A guidance from within began transforming me through that prayer. I felt a sincere desire to help others realize what I had begun to realize, that in the time for which there are no easy answers, and when your suffering is great, something from within is able to help you and wants to help you. It called me forward, and once I gave it my full attention, even though my circumstances were unchanged, I was changing. As my heart continued to open, I saw everything through new eyes. You never forget the person you loved or the loss you experienced. The physical presence is gone, but memories remain as faith, hope, and love deepen and help you move forward. And the last marker is reinvest. It's important to receive ongoing support from others. The quality of this support and understanding will impact your ability to heal. And so some of the questions I leave you with as you continue retreat are, take time with Jesus weeping at the tomb of Lazarus, or with Job coming to a new relationship with God, or sit with Paula Darcy, who lost her husband and son. Another question is, what is important for you as a spiritual director as you wander through the wilderness of losses with other people? Another question, what helps you cherish memories of losses? As your 3 years of Audiri end, what are the feelings being stirred within you? And what new identity, having spent 3 years in Audiri, is arising? Thank you.